Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Imagine an empire forged in the harsh steppes of Mongolia that grew to become the largest contiguous land empire in history. An empire built by a man whose name would echo through centuries, Genghis Khan. Today, we're diving into the meteoric rise of the Mongol Empire, from a collection of scattered tribes to a force that reshaped the world. How did they do it? Let's saddle up and find out. It all begins with a man named Temujin. The Mongolian steppe at the end of the 12th century was a chaotic and violent place, a patchwork of rival tribes like the Merkits, Tatars, and Naimans, constantly at war with each other. Temujin, born into this world of conflict, experienced immense hardship, including the kidnapping of his wife and periods of enslavement. But these trials didn't break him. They forged him into a brilliant military strategist and a charismatic leader through a masterful combination of diplomacy, alliances, and ruthless warfare. Temujin began a relentless campaign to unite his people. He defeated his rivals one by one, absorbing their warriors into his own growing army. He wasn't just conquering, he was building a nation, creating a merit-based system where loyalty and ability mattered more than noble birth. By 1206, he had achieved the impossible. All the tribes of the Mongolian steppe were united under his banner. At a grand assembly, or Kurultai, he was proclaimed Genghis Khan, the Great Khan, and the Mongol Empire was born. But unifying the steppes was just the beginning. Genghis Khan's vision extended far beyond Mongolia. His first major target was the Western Jin Dynasty, a powerful Tangut kingdom located in what is now northwestern China. From 1207 to 1209, the Mongol cavalry, masters of siege warfare and psychological tactics, relentlessly attacked. Unable to withstand the onslaught, the Western Shire submitted, agreeing to become a vassal state and pay hefty tributes. This victory was crucial. It secured Genghis Khan's southern flank and provided him with valuable resources and siege engineers for future campaigns. With Western Shire subdued, Genghis Khan turned his gaze to a much larger prize, the wealthy and powerful Jin Dynasty, which ruled over northern China. In 1211, the Mongol war machine rolled south. This was a different kind of war. The Jin had massive armies and heavily fortified cities. But the Mongols were adaptable. They used captured engineers to build siege weapons and employed feigned retreats and lightning-fast cavalry charges to outmaneuver the larger Jin forces. The war was brutal, culminating in the siege and capture of the Jin capital Yanjing, which we now know as Beijing, in 1215. The city was sacked, and the Jin dynasty was left shattered, a shadow of its former self. Just as the Mongols were consolidating their power in the east, a new conflict brewed in the west. Genghis Khan had initially sought peaceful trade relations with the Khwarezm Empire, a vast and prosperous sultanate controlling the Silk Road routes through modern-day Iran, Uzbekistan, and Afghanistan. However, a local Khwarezmian governor made a fatal mistake. He attacked a Mongol trade caravan and executed the Khan's envoys. This was an unforgivable insult. Enraged, Genghis Khan unleashed the full might of his army on Central Asia in 1218. What followed was one of the most devastating campaigns of the era. The Mongols swept through Khwarezmia, leaving a trail of destruction. Legendary cities of culture and learning, like Bukhara, Samarkand and Urgench, were utterly destroyed, their populations decimated. This campaign wasn't just about punishment. It was about demonstrating the terrifying consequences of defying the Mongol Khan. For the first time, Mongol armies reached the borders of Europe, a chilling preview of what was to come. While his generals pushed west, Genghis Khan received news that the Western Shire, his first conquest, had dared to rebel. They had refused to provide troops for his Khwarezmian campaign, an act of defiance he could not tolerate. In 1226, an aging but still formidable Genghis Khan led his final campaign. He was determined to make an example of Western Shire, to erase them from existence. The campaign was a success. The kingdom was completely annihilated. But during this final war, in the year 1227, the great conqueror Genghis Khan died. His cause of death remains a mystery, but his legacy was secure. He had transformed a divided people into the most powerful military force on the planet. The death of a great leader often signals the end of an empire. But the Mongol Empire was different. After a brief interlude, Genghis Khan's third son, Ögedei, was elected as the new Great Khan in 1229. Ögedei was not the warrior his father was, but he was a skilled administrator and statesman who understood the importance of continuing the mission of conquest. His reign would see the empire expand even further, reaching new, unprecedented heights. Ögedei's first order of business was to finish the job his father had started. The Jin Dynasty in northern China, though severely weakened, still clung to life. In 1231, the Mongols launched their final assault. In a clever strategic move, they formed an alliance with the Jin's southern rivals, the Song dynasty. Trapped between two powerful enemies, the fate of the Jin was sealed. By 1234, the dynasty was completely destroyed, and the Mongols had secured their control over all of northern China. With the east pacified, Ögedei turned his attention westward, launching one of the most audacious military operations in history, the Great Western Campaign into Europe. This massive army, nominally led by Genghis Khan's grandson, Batu Khan, but commanded by the brilliant General Subutai, crossed the Ural Mountains in 1236. Their objective, the subjugation of Europe. What followed was a whirlwind of conquest. The disparate Rus principalities, what we now call Russia, were conquered one after another. Cities like Ryazan and Kyiv were razed. The Mongol horde seemed unstoppable, a force of nature. In 1241, they swept into Central Europe. A Polish and German army was annihilated at the Battle of Legat. Just 2 days later, at the Battle of Mohi, the Mongols systematically destroyed the main Hungarian army. The path into the heart of Europe lay wide open. Mongol scouting parties pushed as far west as the outskirts of Vienna and the Adriatic coast. Europe held its breath, expecting a final, devastating invasion. But then, suddenly, the invasion stopped. In December of 1241, far away in the capital of Karakorum, Ögedei Khan died. According to Mongol tradition, all princes of the bloodline had to return to the capital to elect a new great Khan. Bato Khan and his generals had no choice but to turn back. They withdrew from Central Europe, leaving behind a continent in shock and terror. Europe was saved not by any army, but by the timely death of a distant Khan. Simultaneously, the Mongols were also engaged in a long and difficult war on another front, the Korean Peninsula. Starting in 1231, the Mongols launched a series of invasions against the Goryeo dynasty. The Korean court and army resisted fiercely, retreating to Ganghwa Island and waging a stubborn guerrilla war for decades. While the fighting would continue for many years, the relentless pressure eventually forced Goryeo to submit and become a vassal state, further extending Mongol influence in East Asia. In just a few decades, under the leadership of Genghis Khan and his successor Ögedei, the Mongol Empire had exploded across the globe, from the Pacific Ocean to the Danube River. They had conquered kingdoms and empires, redrawn maps, and connected East and West like never before. The world would never be the same. But the story doesn't end here. The empire was about to face its greatest internal struggles, leading to fragmentation and civil war. What happens next? We'll explore that in our future videos. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next episode. We'll see you next time.